a manhunt tonight for an escaped prisoner.
Find a safe place to hide for a few months.
He's a very smart individual, super intelligent.
You're just the man I want to see.
You like peanut M&Ms, right?
'Cause we're missing a lot. You have any idea why?
I just thought, they gotta be hiding somewhere. Boop.
Yeah, give it up. Give it up. Give it up. We don't have that much time, and I know you all want to talk about that incredible film because everyone is feeling what I felt, which is like, man, we just went on a ride. Derek, I'm going to start with you because this was a project that kind of came to you in a way. They were like, okay, this guy, if he says yes, we can move forward. So talk about your journey with Roofman.
You know, I had made a series of very heavy-duty movies, kind of very serious movies, and I wanted to lighten up a little bit, I guess. I don't know how well I did at that. But anyway, I was looking to make a movie that reminded me of the movies I loved growing up. And my producer, Jamie, told me about the story of Roofman. There was a script. I have a trouble reading. And I can't really read scripts. I can only read scripts if I write them for some reason. And about 400 hours later, I had heard his story, and I was just compelled, I think, by the contradictions that he presented to me. And I wasn't sure if I had a movie, though, until I spoke to the people in his life. I spoke to his mother, his brother. I spoke to the officers that arrested him. I spoke to the judge that sentenced him to 45 years. I spoke to the prison truck driver that drove him out of prison, who happens to be the prison truck driver that drives Channing out of prison. I met with him, and at the end of our meeting, he said, "Hey, well, I have a question. Who are you going to get to play me?" And I said, "Do you have any ideas?" And he said, "I think it should be me." And
that guy was great. He was so good.
He was incredible. I think the two people that like really changed what the tone and what the direction of this film were Pastor Ron Smith and Lee Wainscott. I had kind of assumed that they were going to feel very bitter to Jeff or feel betrayed or be angry with him. And when I got on the phone with both of them, they spoke about Jeff as if he was this unicorn that appeared in their lives. Lee told me that he was the greatest adventure of her life. And I asked Pastor Ron at one point, I said, "Tell me about the Bible." And he said, "Well, the Old Testament is judgment. The New Testament is grace." And that in his life, he tried to err on the side of grace. And I thought to myself, society had judged Jeff pretty harshly. The judge who sentenced him to 45 years is actually in the film too. And I thought that the movie could see him with maybe a little bit of grace. And that was kind of our North Star.
Wow. And thank you for saying that. I'm really glad that you talked about the contradictions, because when I was looking at your performance, Mr. Channing Tatum, sir, that was the thing that just really, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Because in one way, he is like this catch-me-if-you-can savant that can get himself out of any situation. And then on the other hand, the lack of emotional intelligence about the hurt that he's causing the people in his life, and just the audacity. But you had to play all of that so well. And I really would love for you to talk to this room full of actors of how you balance that, because too far one way, it's cartoonish. Too far the other way, we don't believe him. But you pulled it off impeccably.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a this man is the reason why I think it all came together, obviously. But I love characters. I've always loved characters in movies and in real life and I mean, I think almost anybody really, you could take a snapshot out of their life and judge them pretty cruelly and be like, you're a bad person. But there's a way and a reason of why they got there and how they got to that moment. And I like giving, an understanding to those people. And when I read the script, I was yelling at the script. Like, I was just like, don't do that. Why are you doing that? Stop it. Like, you got it figured out. Just do the thing. Like, stop. And he just wouldn't stop. He just kept making bad decisions after bad decisions. And I love the line in the movie that it's in there that I made some decisions that took away some other decisions, and I was only left with bad decisions. And that one just really hit me. I think about the decisions that we all make in life, and that I'm probably 2 decisions away from being in a very, very different place from like where I grew up and where I came from. And I'm just so happy that I accidentally made the right one, I guess. In talking to Jeffrey a lot, I don't know. He's so warm. He's so still optimistic. You talk to him and he just has a mind that, he was in the hole for like 9 years at one point. And I don't know how you keep your sanity, but he has all these dreams when he gets out. And I was like, what do you want to do? And when you get out? And he's like, I don't know if they'll let me because I'm a felon, but I'd really like to adopt. He's like, I really feel like I would like a second chance at being a father. And it just broke my heart. Like, I just found myself knowing that this man has done wrong and knowing that he's hurt people. He understands that. And he's just the warmest. He took care of me on the phone more than I took care of him or gave him any comfort. That's a little insight into that.
He told me he wanted to be a Walmart greeter.
He did. He told me the same thing. Or a grip, or dolly grip. He wants to be he loves movies.
I told him I don't think the big box stores are hiring you.
I mean, this is a SAG screening. He could get a job on a movie set, though. Miss Kirsten Dunst, ma'am.
Yeah.
I was just saying how the last time I spoke to you was for Power of the Dog, and then you just come back with another banger, so thanks. But with this one, I think, again, it's another bit of the sort of alchemy when you talk about his contradictions. You kind of show the light, even on the stuff that he did that sort of brought Lee into darkness. I'd be curious for you, did you have to find that a little bit, her sort of like patience with him? Because like at one point I was like, girl, run. This is a Dateline episode. What are you doing?
I know, I didn't want to make her that girl, obviously. But yeah, I think when you have 2 daughters, you have to take care of them first. And so what she had, though, the real Lee, is so much grace towards the situation that happened. And I just wanted to make her as real of a human being in a short amount of time who really fell in love with somebody. And this is such crazy circumstances, but she still cares deeply for him.
Was there a scene where it was a little bit more difficult than others, or was it really just through the same thing you could be, whether it was crying for him at the end or smiling with him in the fun parts? What was the one where it was a little bit harder?
Nothing's like hard or easy. It's like you just want to take the work that you've done before you get on set and fill it, whatever you've worked on privately into what you're doing that day.
Was there a big North Star for you then, for Lee, that you really sort of guided what you wanted to do on screen?
Well, I did have a dream about Christmas. So I did do a Christmas take every time for each shot. And it does give you this like lightness and sadness that's not too sad or too light. It's just kind of that lifey that a good Christmas movie gives you. So that's kind of what I wanted to imbue in this too.
This is kind of a Christmas movie. It's like in that weird sort of like Die Hard thing because of the toys, like I feel it. I know.
Christmas tree in it.
It's dark. It's Christmas
There's
movie
some
though.
great Christmas music. It's about nostalgia.
I feel
it's about the return home. Yes, it is a Christmas movie.
He's like, no, that's exactly what I meant. I just didn't want anybody to fight me, but he said it. Christmas movie. Not going to debate it. I'm going to bring it to Melonie, and the reason why I'm going to do this is because I loved how we have Lee, who sort of has this everlasting patience, and you had your everlasting, I'm not giving him a lick or a minute. Even at that birthday party when he had it together, she was like, I knew it. I knew you would do this. But that's a harder thing, I think, to play against what Channing is doing, somebody who's just like, I know you will hurt me, and I'm not going to fall for what you're saying. So talk about how you wanted to sort of show the hurt that he was causing in his life.
Well, I'm a mom. I have a 4-year-old, and I think you will literally do anything for them and protect them at all costs. So I was just like, okay, in order to protect her, you have to leave. You have to walk away. And I think that there's a lot of strength in what she did, and that was like my North Star.
Did you have a favorite day? Because it's kind of fun to yell at somebody on the other side of it. I think it's a little bit more fun. And you just had so many bars for this one. Just on the phone, in person. Hang up the phone, baby.
The scene in the parking lot was pretty fun. It's fun and, the way it can be fun.
Yeah, exactly that. We didn't really do very much rehearsal, but our like whatever that day was at the house to kind of give us a little bit of backstory, that was wild. I don't even want to get into what it was, but it was an exercise of us fighting essentially.
Like taking the plants and leaving. I'm like, leave out the plants.
She was trying to leave, and my job was to keep her in the house. And it was, it went on and on and on and on and on.
It went on for a long time. We didn't shoot it. We just, she wanted the plants. You didn't want her to take the plants.
I really love how much this film is an ensemble, and there's many names that are not here that just pop it, whether it's Tony, we have Ben Mendelsohn, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say, Uzo, you had a fun, every scene you're with Pastor Ron, I'm just saying, Eileen had a real tough day, but no, I know that those two, specifically Pastor Ron, but then also the reflections from his wife were a key point for Derek in the sort of crafting of this story. What did y'all sort of say y'all wanted to do when you represented them on screen? Because these are people like you knew they would watch it and you knew they were so instrumental. And maybe they weren't as much a part of the narrative structure, but they were so rich to be a part of Jeffrey's life. So what did y'all want to bring to these two characters? Because also, this cast is deep again.
Sure. I think the first thing was coming into it, playing a pastor's wife. It's to piggyback on this thing that Derek just said about what does the Bible write? Old Testament is, what did you say now? Judgment, and new is grace. I was thinking in my head of if a church environment was exactly the way you hope it to be, which is one that is extension of grace, right? And this idea came of, I think, a lot of people find their way to the church who might be lost and be looking to be found. And coming into it was hoping to represent this idea that maybe perhaps for the first time since his story has been written, he gets to experience a clean slate. People really meeting him for the man he wants and hopes to be versus the man he has had to be defined as being. And that was really the hope of creating that environment, because you meet people every day coming into that space who might be having different walks, paths that they've been on. And I think we were able to do that, hopefully, because first and foremost, Channing came with such an empathic performance that was really just quite excellent, I believe. And so strong that felt open-hearted, that allowed and gave the permission and the room and the space for that to be. And also seeing that Lee is trying to find her way back in. I think there are a lot of people who exist like that in the church life, and just trying to highlight that as positively as we can.
Well, y'all did a great job.
Well said. Well said.
This is one of those weird things because, again, this movie is very deep. And Mr. Peter Dinklage, sir, for as many years as I loved everything that you did on Game of Thrones, like I wanted to tattoo lines, seriously, onto myself. I hated you in this movie.
People have.
People have. I hated you in this movie. I was like, I scare him more. You were so despicable. It was just like, I was just like, oh, I know that retail manager. We worked for that retail manager. It again just shows the incredibly complex characters, because I was still terrified for you when he ran out naked in that moment. So I'd love for you to talk about how you all set up that day. That's an action sequence in a character ensemble performance.
You just want the smut from me, don't you?
It's a real hard shot. I looked at it. It had angles. He ran.
I'm here for the TMZ of it all.
No, but do talk about setting up that day, because that is a very funny moment in the movie, and I want people to know how hilarious it is. But it's also one where you guys got to get it technically right.
Well, Channing did, at least. No, I had never been a part of a set where I love Mike Leigh movies, like where they don't get to read the whole script, where they're sort of partitioned from each other. The actors don't get to meet, and this was the first time I've actually been on a set where I didn't meet Channing until that we saw each other from afar, and he went, "Oh, you saw me!" And we're not supposed to see each other. But it was really kind of great and helpful to actors to not see each other until that moment. And it's really, truly the only time where we first sort of had the true interaction and the response that we did. And I can't imagine making a movie any other way from now on. So people like Mike Lee and Derek have it right, because it really helps with our sort of process. But yeah, it was a great day. I'm obsessed with Derek because of how he deals with time. It's like a hidden gem with filmmakers, because you have 90 minutes or 2 hours to see a movie. But ever since I saw Blue Valentine, you see the arc of time in a very, really huge way, and especially his delicacy with children and how you deal with that. But every one of his movies deal with time. It's like the hidden weapon of filmmakers who I've always loved. And nobody really addresses time in the grace that Derek does. And I think one of the reasons, and I'm not going to speak for him, but he was drawn to this story is because this character only has time. He's hidden away in this Toys R Us with nothing but time. And that idea of, in a 2-hour span, how you can feel what a character feels in terms of their patience and in terms of time is endlessly fascinating to me as an audience member. So I just wanted to give hats off to Derek for just making that such an integral part of filmmaking that I think we take for granted.
Do you want to add? I mean, I'm just going to brag.
Yeah, I mean, movies are about the expansion and the contraction of time. You can elongate a moment that takes a second, and it can take an eternity on a movie screen, and you can shuffle through an eternity in a couple seconds. You know, this movie was very much built around the point of view of our character, Jeff, played by Channing. The whole movie was subjective. It took place as he experienced it. Even when he's watching the monitors and you go into those scenes with Peter and with Kirsten, they're still from his point of view. And, you know, this movie takes place over, like 6 months. And it's kind of mile markers or holidays, especially Christmas. And so we had to create this movie as like a memory. And you talk about time. Yeah, we thought about that thematically throughout making the film, because when you get sentenced to, you just have to serve. Jeff had to serve time. And when he was incarcerated, broke out of prison, and he found himself in another incarceration, was this toy store. And I think what ended up happening to the real Jeff and the Jeff in our movie was he was on his way to Venezuela, and he had the plane tickets, and he was on the off ramp, and I think he realized he didn't want to start over again, that even going to a place with freedom like Venezuela, it was another incarceration for him, and he decided to turn back and do the right thing for the people he loved and say goodbye in a way. And of course he got caught there, and now he's serving a lot of time, 45 years. And one of the things about Jeff, just to echo what Channing said, he is this eternal optimist. I had someone ask me, how do you make a movie with such a jovial leading man about a criminal? I was like, well, Jeff is that. That is Jeff. When you talk to him on the phone, he will tell you every dad joke he can tell you. He will talk about, he says, just because I'm in prison doesn't mean my life is over. I still enjoy a good meal. And so I would ask him, well, what did you eat today? And he said, I had the most delicious granola bar. And so he really appreciates the small things and the simple things. And he's spending his time kind of going over his life. And I think for me, as the listener, I was able to listen to his life and try to translate it on screen here.
Well, you did an incredible job. I could talk forever about how crazy it is to give believable performances through black and white VHS tape. I could talk about the slapstick comedy and the time machine, but we are running out of time. But I want to thank you all so much for your artistry.
Thank you for coming.